Great. Good evening. Welcome to the Trails Committee meeting tonight, June 8th. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7:39, and we'll kick off with a roll call. So when I call your name, let me know that you're here. Isabel Murphy.
Here.
Tom McCollier.
Here.
Catherine McKee. Here. And Satyendra Sharma is joining us right now. Hello, Sati.
Hello.
So we're doing a roll call vote. So I'm going to just call your name and you just let us know that you're here. Satyendra Sharma.
I'm here.
Great. Okay. Thank you all. So first order of business is approving the minutes. We do not have a copy of April 12th minutes or the 5/5 minutes. So we'll handle that at the next meeting. We did receive a notice of late minutes, but it is just what it is. We haven't met since the town meeting. So we will address that next meeting. Quick recap on the mental health awareness. So thank you, Tom and Sati, for running the show. I was out of town, so please tell me, what was it like and how are things? And
I had the second group, which was all adults. So there was 2, 4, 6, 7 of us there. It was good. I mean, everybody had positive, reaction to it. They liked it. I would say, and we had 7 plus her. I would say, like I said, I would cap the groups around 12, 14 tops. Because you still got to talk, and she does her thing and stuff. But I thought it was really good. I think if we can build off of that for another one of these type of things, I think it'll go a long way.
Awesome. And go ahead. Sorry.
No problem. Go ahead.
No, I was just asking. Everyone seemed to enjoy it, and it was engaging for everybody.
Yes, they enjoyed it immensely.
Good.
Actually, there was a little bit rain when we started. So, I mean, it was enjoyable, but, only one family turned up. And then besides that, we were about, including her, we had one more person, from the mental health. Yeah.
Youth and Family Services.
Two kids.
And did she bring her kids, her boys?
Yeah. 2.
Good.
So that's it.
So it was those 3, and then another family of how many?
2.
2. So that
two husband, wife, and two kids.
So 3.
Well, no, one kid. Sorry, one daughter. They had a daughter. Yeah.
So a pair. So another 3. So that's 6.
Yeah, another 3. Yeah.
7. Okay, great. And everyone seemed to. And how? What were the kids like? Did they enjoy it? Did they stay engaged?
Yeah, she was very engaging. I mean, she was trying to get their attention, giving them some cool things to do, like, kind of, go to the different tree and then find out, if there is an emotion, what is that motion about? And then did you see anything? And so that way, they were quite engaged.
Oh, good. Well, that's great. Thank you so much for doing that. And so I was going to post, I think, Tom, you sent me some pictures. Those pictures were from the hike, right? Or were those? Okay, great. And Sati, you just didn't.
I didn't take any.
That's okay. So I'm going to post just a success. Hey, thanks for all who participated. Look forward to future ones. And because we did get the Choate Fund grant, very exciting, the 2022 one. And I don't know if anyone's had an opportunity to take a look at that application, but we do have it on the agenda. We can talk about it a little bit later about how to execute what we have proposed and awarded. So that's great. Thanks again for all of that, guys. So annual town meeting recap and next steps. Isabel, did you get to, I don't know if you were in town, or did you get to see anything or watch the recording and at all how the Trails Committee session went? You're on mute.
You're on mute.
There you
Just heard secondhand. in terms of kind of what the outcome was and some of the highlights.
Yeah. So I'll just, is there any thoughts anyone wants to share before I, share my thoughts?
No, the only thing is that just we want, I mean, it came to me a little bit late. I mean, so the only other explanation we could have given, I told you, Catherine, that the ad hoc members,
Yep.
they were not, so they are different from the volunteers,
Yeah.
because they are appointed by the town.
Yeah.
Volunteer is not appointed, right?
Exactly. They're appointed by the
So,
town. They're covered
yeah.
under liability and all sorts of,
Yeah,
they have to
they
abide
undergo
by,
the training.
yeah, and go through training. Yeah. Yeah. So I was really disappointed. I shared some of that with you guys, but very disappointed. I mean, I was pleased that our bylaw passed, but very disappointed that the associate members didn't fly. It was positive that, we only lost that amendment by 17 votes. So that really tells me that we had a lot of support for the proposed associate members. And what's really disappointing is, as we all know, like, we're losing two members, Tony Schoner and Will Warren. And Tony, he's joined another committee, so he's not joining us tonight. And Will said he was going to join us, but he's not here yet. So yeah, I think we're going into one of our busiest seasons. We could really use those extra hands to do the work instead of doing work parties, which was highlighted during our discussion. But we weren't successful. So one question I have for the committee is, we may have another, I don't want to, beat a dead horse, and but I don't feel like we're done here and there is still an opportunity. Is anyone in the committee interested? Because we have fall town meeting. I don't know if there will be an amendment to define what a committee member is, for example, what was going to be proposed during spring that got pulled. But if there is an amendment put forward, an article rather, put forward to define a committee member, and that be either just what was it? I forget the language that was used, but it was going to prevent an associate member from ever being an option. Does anyone have interest in trying again, either at town meeting in the fall, if the opportunity presents itself, or at Springtown meeting, to try one more time? And one approach might be, for example, is to meet with stewardship and meet with open space, the two other committees that require physical labor outside of monthly meetings, and actually see if they would want to join us. And we would perhaps approach the town to see if they would allow associate members for certain committees that have this type of structure that require physical, that might be one angle that might be more successful if we're doing it for a specific committee. That way you're preventing other committees that people might have issues with having associate members, that for whatever reason, Mr. Hegarty was saying it's a slippery slope. So, we avoid the slippery slope with those committees, and those that actually need the extra hands in the committed way that we've described could have it.
I don't think it hurts to flush it out one more time, but I'm not saying to put any articles or warrants. But let's think about that and discuss that a little bit more.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Half of me is, we'll take our lumps and we, do what the outcome is.
Yep.
But if there's another way we can do that, and like I said, I think Jim Haggerty also mentioned that there's other avenues like Friends of Trails, which is a completely independent from the town. That could be something else we possibly could, investigate.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you got to look at, it certainly is something someone else could undertake. I'm personally not going to do that. That's a 501. That's putting a nonprofit in place and having to do all that reporting and accounting and that kind of stuff. That's a whole nother, or that's an organization essentially. So I think that is an option. It's not the same as what we were trying to accomplish, but I am curious. to speak with a few other, maybe advisory or, you know, Michael Weishen said in his Take the Win speech, there are so many different ways you can accomplish this. So let's reach out and say, what do you think those ways are besides the 501, you know, the 50.
I know, I'm just saying, let's investigate the different options to get to the same
Yeah.
result is we want people more involved to help with the work. That is,
Right.
that should be,
Yeah.
that is it. I mean,
It is.
need more
Yeah.
hands.
And it hands in a committed way in that, you know, we basically that are familiar with the trails that aren't a work party that I don't have to get a volunteer release form from. So that's kind of some of the,
Right,
benefit
so, I mean, you're on the stewardship. They have an army of volunteers. Do they have to sign forms every time they do something?
I'm not sure how they handle that.
I mean, this must be
It's
something.
not
that-
organized by me, in other words. So I don't handle that I don't handle the administrative aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to, I mean, according to Freddie, she's very successful with her, you know, dozens of volunteers and no problem doing anything. So, I mean, I think Lee should find out what she's doing. If it's replicable, we can replicate it. Our end result is to get more people involved. How we do it, if Freddie has a way, if we could tap into Freddie's army, her volunteers that she mentioned at town meeting, and have them do work for us also.
Yeah, I love the idea, but I doubt that will work. You know, there's a lot of commitment that Freddie's volunteers have to do for the pollinator gardens. I'm pretty certain we can certainly ask, but I'm pretty certain they're not going to want to like dedicate more time to something like trails. The other thing is, you know, a more sustainable option, because, you know, one of our topics tonight is trail maintenance, and we have to get out there again and do some trail maintenance, and I'm going to ask who's available to do it. And if no one's available to do it, then I am going to go do it. So that's not sustainable. So that's what I'd like to try to prevent from happening in the future is, you know, if we had those extra hands. So I'm with you, Tom. I hear you. Let's talk about another meeting, a dedicated meeting. I'm on the fence too. I don't want to fight too hard. But at the same time, you know, it is a really valid approach. And so maybe one more shot, we'll see. We'll see if there's some different tweaks that we can do that might be more successful. So
But-
thank you for entertaining the conversation.
One thing is, though, I mean, we had like 17 vote deficit, so it is more reaching out to the townspeople rather than
More
reaching out to the,
Yeah.
you know, officials. You know, they
Yeah.
they have their mindset,
Yep.
but we can always reach out to the, you know, like go
Yeah.
to the, I mean, the transfer station, and I can.
No, I think you're right, Sati. I think we could have used more on the ground. Like we did a lot of publicity and outreach with committees, boards and commissions, but and through that probably reached some people, but we could have probably done more with people, one-on-one conversations and that kind of stuff. But that's a lot on the ground and kind of different.
But remember, that's all good and well intentions, but we were on the second night at the end where the people were extremely limited. As you know, at that point, anything can happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they were exhausted, done, and let's move this, you know.
So how do you, who decides the
Not us. And I don't think you
No,
I think
so
it's the moderator, the top, the
yeah, we
select
need
board,
to
but
tell them that, bring it like earlier on.
Right, next time we need to flip that around. No, I like it. Okay, well, thank you
Alright.
for that conversation. I appreciate it. Okay, so then Choke Fund Grant 2021 closeout. So we are finishing up. We just have a couple more pieces. Stewardship Committee asked me to bring to you, to ask this committee to vote on the interpretive sign in the town forest. So I'm putting that up for us. I think I circulated it earlier. I'll
yeah,
send it.
it looks good. Now, where do they plan on putting that? On Woodland or on the other
It's gonna
side?
go, it's gonna go inside. Can you see my screen now? You're seeing
Yeah.
this? Okay, so it's gonna go in the town forest at the intersection of, it's gonna be at the end of Wood Frog Way. That goes into the pond. Right?
Okay, this is replacing the old one that was there.
No, there wasn't one there.
You're talking about on the backside of Breakneck Hill.
Oh, no, there's that little tiny one between Woodland
Yeah.
and Breakneck. That's still there. That's different. Yeah, this is in the town forest itself, right? Off of Bay Path and Wood Frog Way. So it's where the benches where you.
Okay, okay, where the bench is. Yep, yep.
Yeah.
That's a
And
good place
so-
for it.
Yeah, well, so if you're walking either, well, it's a throughway, so that's where it will go. And
No, the
la-
bench is not, no, the bench is a dead end.
It's not gonna go there. It's gonna go where Wood Frog Way intersects with Bay Path,
Okay,
right? It's on the main way.
all right.
It's
So
not right at,
yeah.
right at the water. And
Yeah,
I've got to shut my window if someone's doing something inside. Okay, so, yeah, so the language was approved. Jenny Pete from the Stewardship Committee put a lot of work into this, and she's got a good information, so, and the committee voted it forward. So if, we have the Stewardship and Trails Committee initiative funded by the Choate Fund grant. So if the committee is comfortable with this, I'm gonna go to print with it.
Yep.
And
I move that we approve the interpretive sign as presented.
great, do we have a second?
I will second it.
Thank you, and let's do a vote. Tom McCoolier,
Yes,
Satyendra Sharma,
Yes.
and Isabel Murphy.
Yes.
my only thing, and I would like the sign to be where that bench is, because that is a great water spot. It's drying up now. That's probably the largest vernal pool there. That where the bench is, where I took the pictures of the dogs.
Yeah. Well, so the problem with having it back there is that you're never gonna see it, right? You're gonna walk down Bay Path, you're not necessarily gonna see it. So this is right at the intersection when you're on.
I
It's
know.
right there, it's right there.
I
So,
just, my 2 cents is I would like it next to a vernal pool that you can actually then,
Well, it is
investigate
next to a
what's-
vernal pool, because it's on Wood Frog Way is that little tiny, you just head straight and you're right into the water. Right? So this is right there at that intersection.
all right, I guess I'm not 100% sure. As long as it's next to a vernal pool, that's. my
It
only
is,
comment.
it's not
Okay.
literally next to, because that would be irresponsible to try to put cement and, bother the wetlands in that way. So it's far enough back to be safe.
Okay. I'm fine with it.
Okay, thank you, guys. And then thank you. I have to stop saying guys. The other thing is we're doing a closeout email. Can you see my Word document up?
Yep.
Okay, great. So it just says, this is going to be sent to the Choate trustees, the Choate Fund trustees, and it says, these were objectives. This is what we did. We designed the interpretive sign for the town forest. We rolled out a multifaceted dog waste education campaign, and just goes through the highlighted of what we accomplished. And it was, to let them know how much we were able to do with the grant that they provided, and to thank them for that. And then we'll include some pictures of the different things that we did, including the nature walk. And we talk about the naming of the town forest. We'll include some pictures of the trail name signs and the guided walk, and then the Eagle Scout project that it funded. So it really was a wonderful opportunity to, we touched a lot of different aspects. So this was a great project to work on. And the dog waste campaign, we sent out a final thank you. Some of you may have seen it. It's going to go through the library also, and then we'll send out a trails e-alert, and I've asked Vanessa to send a town e-alert. It's just basically one last final message that says, hey, thanks for all who participated. This is why we were doing it, reminding them, the purpose, which was to, help raise awareness about the importance of picking up after our dogs. And then to, Breakneck Hill, we just did a site walk a week ago, and there's a lot less dog waste on the trails. So it does seem to have an impact now. We hope that trend follows through town. But so our signs, the last piece for trails is our the signs that we're putting up at key locations, right? So it's going to look, you can see I've switched screens now. You're going to see it. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So we had agreed on very basic language, protected water supply. We've had DCR approve this. So my question to you, the last question is, this will be like an 8.5 by 11. And so this dog image, I have to work on it so it's not so blurry. If you look at it closely, you can kind of see some pixels, but red or blue for the the no. And the reason I had chosen blue, and we talked about this last time, I know it's a little silly, but it's just sometimes red is so bold and in your face, and we're just trying to be a little more friendly. But what say you for the color of that no sign?
That's fine. I'm good with it.
And would it be visible?
Yeah, I mean, the sign is going to be white, so they're going to see it.
So,
Okay.
so are these gonna be laminated? I mean, how are we gonna post these things?
These are going to be
Okay.
aluminum signs with pre-drilled holes. And so we're going to use existing posts and,
Okay.
and existing, we have a couple posts if we have to put them in.
Yep.
And we, yeah, so that's what we're gonna.
How many did we get funding for?
Yeah, so these signs, let's see, we, then the budget got a little wonky because some of the stewardship, we had additional yard signs and things like that. So it cost a little bit more, even though they chipped in an additional 500 for some of that. We went over budget a little bit on that. And because the stewardship is not meeting again, we're not going to be able to get more budget. So I had to carve out some. I'm going to be meeting with the sign guy tomorrow to find out what we can do to kind of cut a corner or two. But we had initially budgeted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 signs. We might have to bring it down to 5. And
Okay.
then we'll have some additional funding in our future, which I'll talk about, that we can use to fund some additional signs.
Okay, no, the sign is good. I think we should definitely do some funding in the future
Great.
to do a consistent signage everywhere. No, this is good.
Yeah, okay. And then DCR approved it, which is very important that they did
Yep.
that. And so, okay, great. So I think that's going to be it for the choke fund. And so we're, I'm going to get that printed and we'll get those installed in the next couple weeks. Definitely by the end of June 30th. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing. Oh, I have to.
By the way, Will is on.
Yes, thank you. I just promoted him to panelist. And Sam Stivers, for the record, is also joining us. Hello, Sam. Will, I just promoted you if you can hear me. Okay. I think he'll be coming over. I've promoted you 3 times now, Sam. So we'll try. Not Sam, but Will.
That's okay. We can continue.
Okay.
Yes.
Will, I
Dylan.
think you'll be able to come over in just a moment. It might be just a system glitch, but I've just done it a few times. So hang tight. We'll bring you over. Okay, so that's the Choke Fund grant for the 2021. And then next, the Aquaduck Connector Trail. I have some exciting news. Oh, there's Will. It's coming over. So we received today, hang tight, we received the MWA 8M permit that provides public access to their portion of the Peninsula Trail, which is a tiny portion, but an important portion, and also to the Pine Hill Trail that Nick McAvoy completed in December, or rather in March, because the signage went up. Hey, Will. So we received that today. That's very exciting. It's taken months, a lot longer than we had expected, but we do have it now. I forwarded it to Mark Purple. And this is our first process as a committee together going through the permitting. So we've never really ushered that through the committee. So I don't know how this works. If it goes, Mark Purple signs it as the town administrator, but I don't know if the select board needs to review, approve, because it's literally a binding agreement with the town. So I've asked Mark to explain that process and let us know what's going on, to have legal counsel review it, and to hopefully get this done before Nick goes to college, because we want to celebrate and publicly celebrate the trail opening. It's just a small segment, but we want to say thank you and have a nice to do. So that's great progress. I'm very excited to have that happen. And Sean was really, from our MWA, was, really kind and said, just happy to be working with us and opening another section of trail, and thanking the committee for the good work that we did to get things moving in for our patients.
Did we win the grant?
We don't know about the Mass Trails grant yet. So they said that they would let us know by July. So we're in the final, I hope, final weeks, and we'll learn shortly and soon. Timing is really tricky because of the ARPA funding and the project that we put forth, which I'll talk about next. But we're in a waiting pattern. So I'm hoping that it's soon.
Can we go now with that being, once Mark or the Board of Selectmen, Mr. Purple or the Board of Selectmen sign that, can we then go ahead with the riser fencing?
No, MWA unfortunately is the other side. So they only have a sliver of the dam. Yeah, right.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
But
Sorry.
I spoke to DCR and they have the agreement, the public access plan for the other side completely done. It's waiting signature. They hope and expect, and John Scannell, the director of the watershed division, is continuously pushing for the director to sign or the commissioner to sign it. So, and they're hoping for by July 1st. So we're really close, and that's great news too.
Yep.
So those are the two great pieces of information on that part. So that's that. And then once we get that public access plan in place, that opens up that area, right, for access. But we can't open it up until we put the fence in. So another question we'll have is DCR, in addition to the access plan, we'll have to enter into an MO, a memorandum of understanding or a memorandum of agreement, whichever they call it. And do we need that in place before we do the fencing is the question. Right, that's a whole nother cycle of an agreement. So we'll find out. I'm hoping the answer is we can do it in parallel, because, you know, the other thing to consider is we need to talk to the vendor, the fencing vendor. And I don't know that we'll need to go out to bid. Well, we don't have to go out to bid because it's under 50,000, but we might have to get new quotes. I'm not sure if the quotes we have will suffice, because the new, you know, it's been a couple of years. I mean, our any fence quote is valid and relevant, but that we're in the threshold, we're in the dollar amount where you need to get 3 valid quotes. So I'll talk to the town, Mr. Purple, and see if we need to requote for any reason. And then we'll talk to any fence and see if what their production schedule is like. We should also consider many projects, or, you know, as I watch some of the select board and the advisory and capital planning, some of those projects are being put on hold because of the cost of the materials is so high right now. So I need to see what it's going to look like. And we don't want to spend irresponsibly, but I also don't, you know, we don't want to have to delay for years waiting for cost of products to go down, since we've been waiting for 10 years for, you know, in a way, this trail's been underway for that long. So we'll have to make some decisions and talk to some people about that. Any questions? Yeah. Actually, it's a good segue into the next piece, which is the ARPA funding. So very exciting news that the select board voted. We put forward 4 projects to the ARPA committee, if you remember. And then we narrowed it down to 2 projects, because the feasibility studies for the B-Walt Trail and the Rails with Trails, Tom's proposal with the railroad, were harder things to sell. The feasibility studies, no one really wants to spend money on that, and we can go after grants to do those feasibility studies. So we chose the other 2 projects. One project being the 12,500, which was a multitude of things. One, a shed, money for tools, money for signage, and benches, right? So they voted that forward and unanimously voted to fund that, and that was for an immediate release of funds. So that's great news. Stop and take that in. So we need to talk to DPW about a shed, and if we can put it on property, and access. I think access is really important, because we can't, like, oftentimes we're going to be accessing stuff on the weekends, and if we have restrictions, we need to consider that. And
Right.
So,
Right.
Yeah, so that's great news about that. And then the second ARPA project was, if you remember, we submitted the Peninsula Trail project to be funded if we didn't get the grant, right, the Mass Trails grant, or all or some of it. And if we did get the Mass Trails grant, what we'd like to do is pay for crosswalks, right, and advance phase 2 into now, which is a great opportunity. So they can't vote on that until we learn about the Mass Trails grant. But what I've already done is in parallel, and the committee needs to discuss and vote that we can do this, and allow me to meet with capital planning. So I've spoken with capital planning a number of times to understand when your project is over $10,000, any project that you're doing, you have to go through capital planning. So they have it on the radar. They understand if there's any future future maintenance costs and things, and they can build it into their plan. So they have an upcoming meeting in June, and Jason encouraged us to fill out, there's an application. I'm hoping that it's a plug and play application because we filled out a lot of applications this year. And so we'll attend that meeting in June and talk to capital planning and put it on their radar. Because if it does get funded through ARPA, then they're going to need to know, and we'll need to know more about that. So can I have someone on the committee vote to allow me, Kat, the chair, to submit the application to capital planning, meet with capital planning, and talk on behalf of Trails about the project and determine next steps for us to figure out.
So moved.
Okay.
I will second it.
Thank you. Let's do a roll call vote. Tom McCoolier,
Yes.
Isabel Murphy,
Yes.
Satyendra Sharma,
Yes.
and Kat McKee. Yes, great. Thank you. So
Hey, Kat, I'll be more than happy to help you with that application if you want.
great.
Just send me the link. I'll give it the first draft at it.
oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. And if you have time to attend the capital planning meeting, it might be beneficial for them to see more faces than just me.
Yeah. If you could.
Yeah.
I can
don't
look on
know
the
if it's
website.
I don't think it's been scheduled yet, but I did
Okay.
ask Jason to put us on the agenda.
Oh,
Thank
good. So we have, okay.
Yeah, for your help with that. So related to that are the crosswalks. So I reached out to Karen Galligan. I had already talked to her about this when we were doing the grant proposal to start talking about the crosswalks. She put me in touch with VHB Consulting. They're an engineering firm that does a lot of work with the town. So I spoke with a rep from there, and this is the lowdown. On Route 30 in Stony Brook, to paint stripes there, look, you're looking at $5,500, right? If you put in flashing lights, you're looking at $35,000, right? And you have to connect to an electric, and then you have ongoing electric costs and stuff like that. But you can also use solar, which I would recommend. That would cut your electric costs. But we don't know how much we're going to get use out of that. And that's only if we get parking from Sanofi or Sanofi. I'm not sure what the correct pronunciation is now. But I did reach out to Sanofi and ask them if, hey, did they have any updates on the parking request that we put up? Because they gave us a letter of support for the grant. So we're waiting to hear back from them. And I would recommend and like to hear from the committee that we start with stripes, $5,500. That's low money. And if we see that it's a highly used crosswalk, then, down the road, we could do something more expensive, but the other side's going to cost a ton of money. So we should probably be sensitive about that and conservative to do the stripes probably
Yep.
as a first step.
And where's that money coming from?
Well, we hope that it would come from ARPA if the select board were to vote that forward.
Okay.
Right. So our
We
project
also-
was, yes.
Hey, can't we also ask, Sanofi, when in the conversation we had with them, they have budgets for that kind of thing. Why don't we ask them if they would also help donate?
If they do have budgets for those types of things. But remember, we have to be careful about how we ask for donations. We can't technically ask for donations, but I have new information on that.
So let me back that up, though. I don't think that would be a donation. That would be money they would be giving to the town for public safety.
Right. That is nothing. We're just asking them to put a crosswalk.
Yeah.
We're not asking them for money to do it. They
Right.
do it.
Yeah.
And I think Jim
Okay.
Haggerty said we can approach people
Right.
for things like this. He said it at town meeting that that's why like a lot of these different things, and we should discuss at a separate meeting.
Yeah.
We can
We
approach
can-
them, but saying this trail is being open. We said, after the parking gets approved, we suggest that you work with so-and-so. We know how much it costs, $5,500 to put in a crosswalk. And then depending on use down the road, we could possibly put in, a flashing light.
Let me put it to you. So I like that approach, but this is what I want. if we haven't received any information from Sanofi about the parking, and it's been what, 5 months or something, whatever it's been, and we have an opportunity to get funding to go ahead and put it in, and that like greases the wheels or whatever, the greases the skids or whatever the phrase is, why wouldn't we approach it in that way? It feels like more streamlined to just to do it. And if they want to contribute to the project because they said we may be interested in contributing, then that's great, they can contribute. But I'm a little concerned going to a corporation that's going to have a lot of like, it's going to take more time, and it's going to be a lot of hoops that we potentially have to go through. So I'm a little concerned that will drag out, but it's worth a shot.
Then I'm going to say it a different way. No parking, no crosswalk. If they do not approve that we
Well,
can
right,
park
if there's
there,
no
we don't
parking,
need
there
a
is no need for a
crosswalk.
crosswalk. Right. I mean, it's true. We don't want a crosswalk there if there's no parking there. Agreed, totally. Okay.
So I guess we just have to contact them
Yeah.
again and find out.
Yeah, so I hope they respond. I copied Isabel on the email.
Okay.
And we'll see where they go with that. So I like that approach. I like that idea. And I think having some skin in the game is really probably beneficial to them to, for their own purposes too. We donated to the town of Southborough, blah, 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 you know, so. So the other side, this is the caveat with, or the situation with Route 30 and Central. That light's really old, and if they can't tap into the light as it is with because it has to be a flashing, obviously it has to be electrically attached. It can't just be stripes because it's at an active intersection. If they can't do that, then a new intersection light has to be put in, and that's $250,000 ish. Like, that's not going to be feasible for us. But if they can tap into an existing light and they don't have to replace it just yet, and it's not a waste of money to put in the crosswalk, then it'd be about $100,000, because you do have to put in wheelchair curbs, or what did he say? The wheelchair things on each side. And actually with the stripes, you have to do the same thing. So that's the rundown. And VHB is going to give us an estimate by early next week, and we're going to talk to capital planning. Will include all of that information when we talk to them about it. So, and the select board wanted to know that information too. So we'd have a ballpark if we did get the grant, how much would we be looking for funding, that kind of thing.
Yes. And yes. And like I said, the ARPA fund. So a lot of this stuff is we have to wait until we find out from the Mass Trails.
Everything is, yeah, right. And I wish I could speed it up, but that's not how life works.
Right.
Yeah, so that's that. So I just want to make sure we're going to lose Isabel in 15 minutes. So speaking of ARPA money, we have an opportunity now. So a long time ago, Sati had a great idea about, like, let's get recycled tools. People are probably, offloading tools. Let's ask for donations. I had talked to Tim Davis. We can't do that as a committee. We can't ask for people on the Free Cycle page to donate tools, right? However, we individually can do our own collection of. So since this wonderful idea Sati had, we have collected a lawnmower that works really well from the page. We've collected a rake and some shovels and things like that. Nothing major, just a few things, right? So we're gaining some momentum here. And there's an opportunity. In the neighborhood, someone is moving, and so they have some tools like trimmers, a pole saw. They have a hole digger. We dig holes and put posts in all the time, or not all the time, but we have done it. Rakes, things like that, loppers, that kind of stuff. So my question is, that if the committee is in agreement, I would like to buy, and I've confirmed with the town that we are allowed to buy pre-owned tools. They're in good shape, and it's a responsible way of using federal dollars, actually, reduce, reuse, and that whole very important principle. So would the committee be open to having me spend, up to say $100 of the ARPA funds on these tools to kind of begin collecting what we need in addition to what we'll be purchasing?
So moved.
Okay.
I mean, I don't have I mean, it's $100.
Yeah. And it may
so
not be a
moved.
full 100, it's up to, so I don't know
Right.
what it's gonna be.
Yeah,
Okay.
collect the good stuff, and give
Yeah.
some, don't, buy them used. Very good idea.
Okay,
second
does
it.
someone want to second that?
I did.
Oh, thank you. And let's do roll call. So Tom McCoolier,
Yes.
Isabel Murphy,
Yes.
Satyendra Sharma,
Yes.
and Kat McKee. Yes, great. Thank you all.
So
I-
I think the very first thing we got to do is approach the DPW,
Shed.
Karen, and find out where we can put a shed. This is going to get very bothersome very quickly.
It already is, yeah.
Your car can only fit so much, Kat.
It's true. It's true.
And if I think that'll be once we get approval, let's go out and procure a shed. If they give us a piece of property that we can put it,
Yeah.
and we can access it at nights and weekends, Sundays.
Yeah.
I think we got to do that right away.
Yeah, I agree. And the other thing is we're gonna need some help figuring out the best type of shed. So I don't know if anyone has recently put up a shed or has any shed building skills or anything in your history.
You're gonna be buying a pre-made shed.
Well,
they're
it will
doing-
be, but, there's
We're not building
wood,
a shed.
there's wood, there's metal, there's plastic, there's pros and cons of each. There's living in the Northeast, there's weight of snow, there's all sorts of things. There's the size, there's the foundation.
You're over analyzing it.
Excuse me, this is how you build a shed, my
You get
friend.
boxes also, right? Boxes
Okay.
also.
I'm gonna forgive you for that awful comment.
No,
I also-
Isabel gave me a thumbs up.
Well, okay, I will forgive both of you. I also want to remind us that someone donated to Tim Davis. I think it was a leaf blower, which we don't really use, but I suppose there could be an option for that. And it was also I think it was a string trimmer. So, and it was a Works. So we have the batteries. I have like 5 or 6 batteries that I use with my tools that we've been using. So that's also there. And for what it's worth, I picked up a manual mower, those, just the blades.
Right.
And it's a new out of the box. And the reason it's handy is because I can put that thing in my car. And if the grass isn't too high, you can literally just run up and down and it's good enough for what we need. And it doesn't emit any awful emission, carbon and awful.
Real
emissions.
mower, real mower, right?
Very green. And
Yeah.
I used it on my yard just to see if it works, and it actually does, but you can't use it with really tall grass because it's the most inefficient thing I've ever used in my life. But if it's short grass, it works. So that's exciting. We have all this stuff. And anyway, so we could keep an eye out for other tools, and we'll talk at another time what we need so that we're buying responsibly, and considering what options we have. So
Or we can procure from the transfer station also.
yes,
You know,
we
people leave there, in the
yeah.
swap
No,
shop.
Yeah, exactly. Some tools we'll have to buy new, probably bladed tools like loppers and things. It'll be really useful to have very sharp things so we're not struggling. But speaking of, trail maintenance, we do have, I've reached out to DPW to ask them to get J&J, our mowing contract, to see if they would go ahead and do their the first mow. Because the trails are getting pretty high. So they're going to do it next week. I've reached out to MWRA and asked them, they'd mow twice the open channel because that now is unpassable. It's just too tall. People aren't going to walk on it. So I asked if they would put in a mow, if they could, and that schedule is a little unpredictable and we don't have control over it. We can only just simply ask. So I've put that out and I've asked for an update so we could share with people on our Facebook page. So if people are wondering when I can get out there again. The very next question I would have is do we ever see an opportunity to if MWRA can't maintain the mow as much as we need, and we don't have an option to extend J&J, for example, to the open channel, then do we foresee us trying to get any of that done, ourselves? I don't think our little mower will actually
No.
work because of the way. There's rocks, there's limbs, there's there's all sorts of things that get in
It's
the way.
non-sustaining for the committee to do mowing all year long for
Yeah.
3/4 of the year.
So I'm going to propose we talk about at another meeting how to maintain those trails, because we can't if we can't mow them, and it doesn't seem reasonable that we would be able to, because we don't have the equipment. What we have now is not sustainable. Twice
No,
a year
it's-
doesn't work, and those trails are beautiful, and they're not being, you can't use them if they're tall grass.
Right, we basically, I think,
Solution.
now that we're, come July 1st, we're a standing committee. The sustaining of that is gonna be a budgeted item, so that if we do a third party, J&J, whoever,
Yeah.
and we explicitly mark which trails they're gonna do more than just twice a year. And if MWRA or DCR lets us cut the Aquaduck stuff, we have to put in the budget and let the town vote yay or nay.
Yeah.
You want to cut more often or you don't.
Yeah. that's a-
What's an example of a trail that's overgrown right now?
Right now, well, I drove
And
by
end of Ward
Deerfoot.
Road.
Well,
Ward
end of
Road, yeah.
Ward Road for what we're talking about now, that from Ward Road all the way to Westboro line, I guess, that
Hmm.
Marlboro,
right next to the
Marlboro.
open. Space.
Remember, it's
Okay.
open up to
Westboro
Marlboro.
and Marville. They both kind of,
Because
And then right-
I've been on the Aqueduct Trail and the trails around the reservoir, and those were very nice, actually. They looked like they'd actually been cut recently.
do you, where specifically?
Let's see.
Like
Starting
Middle?
at the causeway that comes across from Breakneck Hill, and then going west along the aqueduct. I've walked all the way from there,
So
all
that's
the
part of
way-
the Bales Preserve, so they'll mow
and then
from
up to
Route
the
30.
Beals Preserve, and all the way to there.
Yeah,
And then also the town wood, the Southborough forest, and that was fine, but that doesn't really grow that much. I
No,
guess.
there's no
Right.
real grass there.
usually
Okay.
what happens in the town forest is your trees kind of grow in, so you need to, clear your corridor. Deerfoot, off of Deerfoot, between Deerfoot and Parkerville, that's a heavy maintenance location, as well as around Route 85 around the cemetery where it does that 90-degree turn. A lot of that brush comes in. So Deerfoot right now, the trail is very narrow, so it could use a mow and a trim. And then I think,
Yep.
I'm pretty
You're
sure
right,
that
Kat. And the same here, like from,
Oh.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, going well, White Bagley Road, that entire area from White Bagley, where we're going across, to Middle, from Middle to Parkerville, where that one area is clear, where that's taken care of by Fay, but exactly when we get to the bridge is a mess.
Oh, okay, yep. So that's a trouble area, yeah. So I think J&J will help with some of that, right?
When are they scheduled?
Next week.
Okay.
I don't have a date, so it will be next week. But we need to schedule a work party, so I'm gonna put that out to the committee now. We need to do, because J&J will do the mowing, but we need to do the trimming and stuff. So is anyone available? I'm gone all weekend. You're welcome to, if anyone's around, to try to do that, or we can schedule some evening times if anyone's available next week, like Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, I'll throw out there.
I'm
Wha-
facilitating, but I will try this weekend to get out.
Just on White Bagley, maybe.
Well, yeah, I'd also love to, the bridge, as I said, is starting to come over.
Yeah,
Maybe I can get out there with the electric hedge trimmers and at least cut it back so that the bridge is clear.
if you don't get to it, Isabel, just let us know, because that will be one of our areas next week. So
Okay.
I can do any of those 3 nights. And I can do a couple of nights at the same. if some-
Thursday is okay for me.
What was that?
Next Thursday.
Thursday's good for you, Sati? Okay.
I have to check for next week, but it should be fine.
All right.
I mean,
So I'm gonna,
do we know when that thing is next week for the master plan? 'Cause I thought that was Wednesday.
oh.
I could be
pardon.
wrong, but
You're
the
right.
doodle pad was somewhere around there.
Nope, you're right. It's Wednesday, the 15th, right? Ooh, okay.
No,
so
she didn't confirm the date yet, but there was a doodle pad and that was one of them.
There was a
Okay.
doodle poll?
Hey, Kate,
Okay.
they're waiting for me to get on my next call.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
I think we're
All right.
good. Thank you. Bye.
Tell
later.
Mark to get well. Tell Mark
I
to get
will.
well.
Thanks. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah.
Hey, Kat, didn't we have a spreadsheet of all the different trails so we could just
Yeah.
make them a little bit more manageable instead of boiling? No, I want to say boiling the ocean, but let's do chunks. It's easy for me to go out and do a small chunk.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. So I'm planning on Tuesday then. Deerfoot is one of those very visible places that a lot of people go, they fish, they do a lot of different things. So I'm interested in hitting up Deerfoot on
Deerfoot to east or Deerfoot west?
Deerfoot east to Parkerville. Deerfoot west is beautiful. Like that's like a maintained, that's along the spillway, and that's on the way to Beals.
Right.
Yeah, that's always fine.
I'm
Oh, yeah.
available on Tuesday evening if you're going to be doing something.
You are, Will? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think if we just had a couple people in, I can bring out, the electric trimmer, the string trimmer, and I might try the mower. It just depends if because it's only a small section that needs to be mowed. So we're not talking hours of mowing. It's just really like a zoom. And if it makes it look better, I'm all for that. And I'm trying to get ahead of the complaints that might be issued. So thank you, Will. I've got you on Tuesday. If you want me to pick you up, I can do that. You're on mute.
You're on mute. Will.
Okay, good. I will do that. And then Sati, you and I will do Thursday, and
Yeah.
then
Where
Tom,
are we doing Thursday? Thursday, what place?
where
Which
I
one?
think you and I should do Route 85.
Okay,
The
I'm
cemetery.
all for that.
Yeah, well, Thursday could work. Just send me just keep me in that. I just
Okay.
don't know right now. There's something going on, but I don't know what time it finishes.
Okay, so I'll send some Outlook out invites, and if you can join, that would be great. And yeah, Route 85, it's usually 3 people might be good for that. It might just go faster. So awesome. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Okay, so the next thing is Constitution Trail. I have very exciting news. There's another trail system in town off of Constitution Drive. Did you know about it?
No,
Don't you love it when we find trails in town and we didn't even know? So I'm gonna
Is this
drive.
one of our trails or somebody else's committee's
It's
trails?
town-owned property. So Melissa Danza contacted me from Conservation Commission and said, hey, would the Trails Committee be interested in helping us maintain this property? I'm like, maintain what property? There's another town-owned property that we didn't know that has trails on it. Apparently, the neighborhood has been maintaining these trails, and they just needed some help because it's getting overwhelming. So everyone's seeing my screen. I have a map up.
Mhm.
yes,
So this Liberty Conservation Area, all of this is town owned. And so I said, yeah, so they need some help in here. I haven't been here to look of what's going on or where these trails are, but it's really exciting. I think she said 12 Constitution Drive there's an easement right next to their property that you can access.
Can you do Google Earth on this? Which side is the field? There's a soccer field on one of those too.
There's a soccer
Oh,
field.
right there on the left. It's on
There.
Liberty. Okay.
That's a soccer field.
Yeah, well, it's a field. It's
Okay.
when they did that development.
There's a
oh,
pond in there.
There's a pond in there.
Oh my good, I cannot wait to get over there. So apparently though, it's very buggy and lots of mosquitoes. So we just, need to be aware. So kind of we'll scope this out and
Yes,
there'll be another
definitely.
opportunity for us we might need a bigger work party. We might put a call out to volunteers for the town to see.
Yeah, we should definitely flag it and that whole 9 yards because I don't.
Yeah.
Even,
So
gotta
I
even do
asked
that.
Melissa if we could we latch on to this property and can we get, whose permission do we need to be able to say, and can we have a map? Can we create a map and put it on Trails Committee map page? And she said, yeah, I think it just needs an approval from the Concom. So we'll be looking to do that. And I think that's exciting when we find new trails in town that we do.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they don't advertise parking on Liberty because there's no houses by the field. And I don't know where the easement getting into it, but it seems like if I remember your green map, it's on both sides.
Interesting. Yeah.
You got
that's
nice street parking without, parking in front of somebody's house.
Right. Yeah, we have to, I don't know, it's not official parking, but we'll have to see what makes sense, because as soon as we start advertising, it's, people may have opinions about where
Oh,
people.
yeah. I have an opinion. That seems like another good place for my dogs.
Actually, that's a really good point. Like, is it another place for our dogs? We should ask. Because I don't
Yes,
know.
yes.
like,
When we talked to the Conservation Commission about this whole property and what we can do, and,
Oh,
we have the authority to
I
do
like it.
things.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Um,
All right. Awesome,
They're
awesome.
getting kind of bored of the town forest.
Nobody can get bored of the town forest stuff. Okay, so next is accessibility and inclusion purpose statement. So Will, if you I wanted to check with you to see if you and Isabel had any opportunity to work together on this, something we talked about a couple meetings ago. Nope. Okay, so we'll punt that. I don't think, I guess it's not surprise, but so Isabel Murphy is deciding to step down. She's got a lot of competing priorities. She'll still volunteer with Trails, but she's not going to be an official member. So once we work out to the town clerk's office whether a resignation, official resignation needs to be issued, we will have an opening on the Trails Committee. So we can put that opening out to the town to see if there's other volunteers that want to join us, or, however we want to handle that, we'll do so. So we can talk about that next meeting, but that's, just keep that in mind as what.
I mean, my 2 cents on that is I think we should advertise it and see what interest is out there and stuff.
Yeah.
I think they did that for the golf course.
Yeah.
Just like I said,
Yeah. And we might pick up a
it gives
few,
us more volunteers.
yeah, and we might be able to pick up a few, extra volunteers like that we don't call associate members, but that,
Yeah.
can help us on a regular basis.
Yep. No, I agree. I think we should, my suggestion is we do have the town advertise an opening once it becomes official.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, that sounds good. And we're gonna miss Isabel. We're gonna do like a nice little celebration of, her hard work with the Trails Committee, and say thank you on Facebook, because we're gonna miss her, but hopefully she'll stick around and we'll still see her face. Okay, so next is website updates. So I have not updated the website for 2021 yet, but we'll be planning to do so in the next few weeks or a month. And we'll get that updated for all the projects that were completed in 2021, and including the most recent, Nick, his Eagle Scout project. And yeah, so I think that's that. We skipped over the Choate Fund grant, so I'm going to share my screen quickly. I think I circulated that, right?
Yep.
I have it pulled up. Okay, so this was, okay.
Do we have to spend that money within the calendar year?
There's not ideally, yes, you spend it within the calendar year, especially because the next grant cycle has come up, and then you're, so
Right. I'm just saying, if we do some things like we just did with the nature, with the family and youth services, I
Yeah.
can see one in the fall, I can see one in the winter.
yes, exactly. And that's the idea. So we would have, yes, all year. They don't have strict requirements, but I've always worked under the assumption that you would want to have it done within a year, especially if you want to go after the next one. So, so basically what we put in for was to have our guided, a series of hikes, nature walks, and experiences that included forest bathing, for example. So we had talked to Erin Flowers about putting in a budget for her. Debbie Costine would be a participant in taking a nice nature walk. And Dan Harvey, who did the town forest, he was also interested in participating. And when we put out a call for hike leaders during the Mental Health Awareness Month, when we were prepping for that, we had a wonderful volunteer, Emma Bartolini, come forward, who does yoga on the trail. She's currently doing that at Tower Hill Botanical Garden. And so she's also built into here. So we can do yoga on the trails. And
Nice. Nice.
so what we want to do is figure out a schedule, right? So I think, what did we say? We were going to do like a number of, I forget how many, if I put it in here.
We have a dollar amount to work towards, right?
Yeah, we have a dollar amount, and I think the dollar amount is 2453.
Okay,
Oh, here it is. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, up to 9 hikes in a year, right? So we need to figure out when we want to do these, what periods of time we want to skip. Like, I wouldn't recommend we do something in August because or July even, maybe it's not only hot, but it's also high vacation
No.
months, right? So we want to really bring this to, and June's almost over. So we need to figure out what a schedule will be, work with our, those who have volunteered to be these hike leaders and come up with something.
I only see the trail yoga is not a hike. It's an event.
It's an experience, right? And I put nature walk experience.
Right,
Right.
so it's 2, 3, we'll call it 4 hikes. I don't know.
Yeah, but we still have to, the trail yoga is still an experience, so.
Oh, I know.
still a time.
Yeah. Okay, my suggestion is October, and then maybe
Well, we can do
maybe-
something in September.
people are getting back to school, a lot of activities with families. I'm just saying, if we wait a little bit longer, then you get the changing of the leaves.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm concerned if we wait too long, we're gonna cram it all into, you can't do trail yoga necessarily in the cold weather.
No. The trail yoga is September, and then in the spring, I mean, yeah,
Well,
you can't do.
I guess the other question is, do we have to avoid July completely? We might have lighter attendance. Is there something we can do in July? Do we want to do any yoga on the trails, for example? Because we have 2, 4, 5 of these slotted. So if we did, maybe we talk to Emma and see what she thinks, and she
Yeah,
works with.
I mean, she would know best of her doing at the Botanical Garden. I would
Yeah.
definitely lean on her. I mean, we can do it in July. I wasn't looking at the yoga.
Yeah.
I know my wife would do it.
Yeah.
But I was thinking more of the nature walks
Yeah.
around the changing of the seasons.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah.
And great idea about the binoculars and all that stuff. That's a great
Right, a
idea.
nice little twist. So this, if I were a parent, would be really excited. So the binoculars, we can, we can buy kid binoculars for, and have a
Mhm.
supply. And these can be something we keep as an inventory, but the
We need a
nature,
shed. We need a shed.
I know. The nature trail book was something we give to the participants. So that's kind of fun. And
Yep.
we're training like the next group of, children to be nature enthusiasts. So I hope that this twist is something that, and the focus on children brings a lot of families out to want to and then there's bird watching. That doesn't have to wait. That can be done, for example, at Breakneck Hill, it's a great time to do that.
Mhm.
So,
Agreed.
so yeah, so maybe because I would like to, I would hate to backload this only just from my recent experience with this current Choke Fund grant. We decided to wait to the spring to do the dog waste campaign, which was the right decision for a number of reasons, but it ended up a lot of deliverables getting done at the end. So it'd be nice to kind of spread this out so we feel like we're being, responsible and doing. So yeah, so this is good. And then the interpretive sign, we can work with the historical commission to get some recommendations. We need to get permission, obviously, where we want to put these, and we want to be very strategic in our sign placement so that we're not introducing sign pollution, right? A lot of our trails are beautiful and nature filled without a lot of signage. We don't want to ruin the vista, every vista we have, and put a sign in, right? So, where I was thinking, like the, remember 9/11 Loop? And I was in there like not long ago, but that whole loop. I mean, I know we have to be careful with DCR. They don't love benches because sometimes they don't want people to park, but there may be some opportunity to put a bench. There's beautiful vistas in there, a bench to kind of like overlook and take a break while you're, having a picnic or something. So let's think about where we can kind of do some of that. Because the other thing is the ARPA money, we had a bench and some signage also. So these things are kind of coming together, and let's see how we can leverage what we have for funding and do it in the best way throughout town, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so thanks for entertaining that, that piece. And then we talked about committee roles, and we don't have to go much into it now. But this, I think the Choate Fund grant with all of these walks and experiences is a perfect opportunity for us to kind of divide and conquer some of the projects that we're working on. So for example, Tom, you can take a couple that you find really interesting, Sati, you can, Will, you can, you know, kind of figure out which ones you want to lead and, you know, let it be your project or something. And then it, you know, that whole concept broadens into other roles and responsibilities on the committee. What do you want to be doing? You know, what do you want to take a lead on? That kind of stuff. So be thinking about that, so that you feel like you have an active role, and any new members we come on, you know, they will immediately be able to participate and feel like they have some ownership in the committee, that, you know, they're contributing in a meaningful way, and they want to stay with us for the rest of their life.
Yes. So I think we gotta wait until probably after July to, you know, when we get reappointed and all that stuff. But yes, I totally agree with that. And it is another thing I want to put on our agenda, and this is something I'll definitely take a lead on, because I think it's a great idea, because it's mine. Is I want to connect the 9/11 loop to the newly opened Marlboro loop that's right at the town line on Acres Bridge Road.
Yep.
So that is something that, I mean, that is a great, we have parking.
Yes.
So I will work with you to understand how we can get that section open by DCR.
Yeah.
And connect and work with Priscilla to get her, not buy-in, but her endorsement of doing that too. Because we have parking, they don't have parking there.
Yeah.
They have some street parking, which the fisherman does.
Yeah.
But we have parking at 9/11, and if we can connect, you do the loop, then you can do that, and you're into Marlboro. I think it's a great
I
connection.
love it. Yeah, and let's do a site walk. We can schedule a site walk to go out there. I did walk some, I went left once and tried to go as far as I could. There are
It's not easy.
yeah,
There's
there
some
are
trails by the
natural
fishermen.
paths, right?
Yeah.
by the fishermen,
So,
right.
so yeah, I mean, let's do that together, and then we'll approach Priscilla, tell them what we're trying to do, get her buy-in, and then do the, you know, like I said, the permitting if it's needed.
Well, and speaking of the permitting, so on the list for DCR's MOA that we have to have in place is to add the 9/11 loop in general.
Well, then why don't we just add that part?
Exactly. So this is all very timely. So we should, you know, be on top of it, get out there, see what we think is possible. Go ahead and talk to Priscilla in Monroe and see if, you know, and then when we get to the MOA and the MOU or whatever, we can talk to DCR about adding that and have most of the legwork done. So that's a nice add-on. Thank you.
So
Thank you.
parking you are talking about, Tom, is that in the field itself, or
Yep, the
Next,
parking lot to the left.
when there is some sport is going on,
Yeah.
soccer or something, you don't
Yep.
get that parking, right?
That's okay. I think
True,
that-
but there's a lot of parking there. There's a
Yeah.
lot of parking there.
Yep. And those are timed events. They start and they end, and then people leave. And you know,
Yeah.
trail use is going to be around different times too. So it's just first come, first serve, and that's a nice little parking spot.
Yeah,
Okay.
because the problem there is in the wintertime, they block that off, and then there's really very limited street parking. A little bit past the exit of the parking there. If you take a right heading towards Marlboro, there's a few slots there.
Yeah.
I go there a couple of times with the hunters and we talk.
Hey, did everyone reply to the town about wanting to get reappointed? I think Melissa, what's her name?
It's a name I didn't recognize, but she works for that.
Yeah,
I
she-
did send her an email.
Assistant, God, it starts with an M. Is it Michelle? Austin or something?
Melanie,
Melanie, thank you. Yeah. Okay, good. So everyone did that. Thank you. And okay, so our next meeting, I kind of feel like, what are you guys thinking? So we're in early June now. We're gonna have some quick decisions coming up with the Mass Trails grant and some prep with capital planning and the ARPA money. Is anyone against meeting on the 28th or the 29th of June?
No, that sounds good. Because otherwise we're talking about the middle of July. if we
Yeah,
don't do
because we
that.
have July 4th and all that jazz. Okay, so does the, I mean, should we try for Tuesday, the 28th?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just one vote. That
Yeah.
I-
Sati?
No, yeah, I'm okay with.
And we'll stay away from Wednesdays, Will, because I think Rotary does something on Wednesdays. I forget what day of the month they do that. Okay, and so we can go back to like 6:30. I forget, it's 6:30 or 7. There was some issues.
I didn't mind this time with the light out so late. I mean, this time of year, it's still, we have a lot of sunlight left in the day.
So a little bit later is better. So we
Yeah,
just
I mean,
that I
my-
like it.
I like the 7:30 because it's better from, I mean, my
Work.
preference is to be in the wintertime. I don't mind the 6:30 because it's dark out.
Yeah, okay. No, I like that. I appreciate that. And it works for me for work too, but I want us to be as sensitive to, sometimes we're gonna have 2-hour meetings because we have a lot to do. And if we get this Mass Trails grant and if we get the ARPA funding or any of these things, we're about to go into busy mode. So will we be okay going to 2 hours or sometimes 2.5 on occasion?
I mean, if it has to be, if we know it's gonna be a long one, we can start a little bit earlier. I mean,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Okay. All right. So let's do 7:30. Is that okay with you, Sati? And
Yeah.
okay, great. Okay, good. So we'll do the 28th. And I'll ask Isabel Murphy. I think she'll still be technically on the committee to join us for that one too. And then
Yeah, if you want to send out the invite from, like you did to the calendars, I think that helps me.
Yeah, I like the calendar invite. I wish I'd started it years ago. Okay, great. So, all right, Will, I'll talk to you offline about some of those questions that you have. I think you just emailed me. Okay.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I second it.
Great. And roll call, Tom McCoolier,
Yes.
Satyendra Sharma,
Yes.
Kat McKee. Yes, great. All right, I will see you on the 20th.
Hey, Kat, I know we just agenda, but can you send me the list of the different trails? Because I don't know if I can make those dates, but I'll go and do the stuff anyways, the different trails that need to be maintained. I'll do a little bit of it at a time. But it's like, which ones are the most critical one? I guess
Oh, okay.
you have the
So
list of
yeah,
priorities.
what I'll do is I'll send out invites for next week to the committee and whoever can attend, accept. If you can't
In
attend,
in that email, you're gonna list all the different trails that has to be done eventually.
yeah, I'll list the areas. Yeah.
Because I know, I remember one time we were working on a spreadsheet to
We have
define
a
who does that.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, if you could just send that, that'd be fine.
Okay. Thank you all. Have a good night.
All right, good night.
Night.